Greeting again, brothers and sisters, as we continue with our study. We continue with part 2 today of on Issaca, the character Issaca. Last week we looked at Issaca and the circumstances around which he was born. That as soon as he was born, this young man seemed to have been in trouble. All the circumstances surrounding the house of Jacob, the war of the wombs, and resultantly the way he was born into this family and the name that his mother gives him. He had to hire Jacob from Rachel for that day when he was conceived, simply because of the war that was going on here. Leah felt that her husband had been taken by her young sister, because Jacob was rightfully her husband as she was the first wife. He has been taken away by her younger sister, who now had to hire him from her for him to come to her house. All this seemed to have enshrouded the whole family in some kind of bitterness. Now you can actually imagine now a child who is born in such kind of a family and is given a name that carries that stigma of the bitterness that was going on in the home. Now, as this child grows up, what kind of a character do they assume, and what kind of a personality do they develop into? Now we come to realize, through many experiences, even in our own lives, as we look and see amongst the families of men, children who are born in strife, what personalities that they develop. Issacharites, therefore, they grow up to seek security in material things because they are insecure most of the time. Such a child, all the time they feel like they are not loved enough. They feel like, most probably you can even think maybe the brothers would even make fun of his name or of him or whatever surrounding. You can only imagine why Jacob had to say the words that he said to Issaca. He's a burdened young man, like a donkey that is balancing two burdens on its back, and yet he loved the land. He's seeking daily to please others. He's seeking daily to be accepted, to feel belonging into this wonderful family of Jacob. There could only be one reason why such a child had to develop such a personality and these kind of feelings that Jacob has noticed over the years as this young man grows up, and he gives it through inspiration as the character of an Issacharite. They become insecure. Hence, as they grow up, they try to make up for that for themselves through material security. These people, they do everything that they can to secure material prosperity, and they become burden bearers. They also love to help where they can and carry the burdens of others, not really because they enjoy it, but because they learned to shrink back and they want to be accepted, and they will do anything to try and get others to accept them through what they can give. Always seeking the favor of others, trying to be accepted in order to please. Now, such a person, such a child grows up to know that all they have to do is to be there to please others. And their own feelings, their own emotions are always bottled away, which most of the time when they come out in a very negative manner. They usually become very stubborn, stiff-necked, determined to do whatever it takes to get what they have set their eyes on. As we hear Jacob talking to Issaca, says he loved the good land, and hence he determined himself to carry the burden. So they will do anything to have their way if they feel that what the path which they are walking on, or the direction they are going to, will get them what they want most, which is security and friendship of those that they admire. and they tend to love money and prosperity. Because when you have got money and you are prosperous, in the real world that we live in, everybody seems to want to be your friend. So now you can imagine as an Issacharite when realizing that, oh, if I acquire this and that, everyone will want to be my friend. Everyone will want me in their life. And yet this is one thing they've felt all their life that they are lacking. They did not feel they are accepted for who they are. They are always accepted and loved for what they give to others. So they tend to be that kind of a person who will therefore go out to seek prosperity of money and material things so that they can then gather around themselves so much friends, so many friends, the kind maybe of a prodigal son, that they will set their mind on what they think will give them what they want, and they will go and get it. We see that a bit in the story of the prodigal son. He wanted to have so much. He could not even wait for his father to die for him to have material possession so he could go to a far country where he will enjoy with so many friends. He just enjoyed that attention from friends who seemed to want to be his friends so much because of what he had. But we know the story that it wasn't until all that was gone that he came to his senses to realize that he did not really need to do all those things. People needed what he had, not him. And he came to his senses and he went back to his father. That's a kind of an Issacharite when they go astray and they get stiff-necked to find their way. But now, why do Issacharites do all these things and develop this kind of a character? Issacharites feel that they are not understood nor appreciated, yet they keep this inside burdened, hiding from themselves and others. Now, people who develop this character of an Issacharite, this is how they feel and this is how they view the rest of the world. They feel they buckle down their own burdens and hide them from others, pretend that they are happy. And whatever they do that is off, they feel that people don't really understand them. Their frustration often arises from realization that they are neither accepted nor receive back what they give to please. They often try too hard outwardly to appease, though not happy inward. He bears the burdens, for he loves the good land. That's what Jacob says. They are wanting in genuineness, even spiritually. These are the people who are never genuine in their presentation in who they are. They will present themselves to people the way they think people want to see them. So there is a lot of ingenuineness, even spiritually. They can turn out to be pretenders. They will say and do what they think people want to hear. But their frustration always comes when they realize that after giving all that display, they are not really accepted for who they are by the people. That's, as I've said, that's the prodigal son. When he left home and when he found so many friends, he thought now he was living life until all those things were finished. And he realized there was no one he could turn to. No one wanted to know anything about him. Even the farmer that he was tending the head of pigs for, he didn't give him anything to eat. That's when he remembered his father. The Issacharites who will go through the gate get to understand that God needs them to come as they are so he can perfect them himself. Dangers of works without faith or trying to earn the favors of God. These are the Issacharites. They are always in danger of trying to even do the same thing, to behave with God the same way they behave with human and with people. Where they want to buy the favors of God through their works. They work so hard to do this and that, but they never pursue the spiritual. Their inner being never pursues to know God and to be the friend of God inwardly. They seem to think, because I've done 1, 2, 3, well, then I should be fine. And yet, they are so wanting when they are weighed in the scales of heaven. The journey that we travel which will end by us walking through those gates into New Jerusalem. It has to be a very personal journey with Jesus, where your heart is true with him, where you understand you cannot appease him, for he knows your heart. You cannot hide anything from God. So the Issacharites who will go through that gate, like their father Issaca, you come to know that God is all that they need. When they do good, it must be the good that comes out of the good heart with a good intention, not to buy favors, not to get friends for what they can give, exchange for. They come to understand who God is, his omnipotence and his omnipresence in their life. And then they fear that and they learn to be genuine. Those are the Issacharites who will go through the gates. May God bless us every time as we read and understand these things. Let the Holy Spirit help us to search ourselves and surrender all things that we may be holding on to that are a barrier in perfecting our characters. So by the grace of God, we'll go through those gates. May God bless you and bless us as we continue to read.